Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 21st. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to Elmhurst City Hall for our regular scheduled City Council meeting. In order to establish a quorum, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Pezza. Dudenkoff. Here. Leader. Absent. Dunn.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Polumsky. Here. York.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Wagner. Absent. Mulliner.
Here.
12 present, 2 absent.
12 present, 2 absent. We have a quorum. Before I go on to the item number 3, we did have a passing of a pretty significant person from Elmhurst. Marilyn Graber passed away today. Big, very devout advocate for the city of Elmhurst, for the hospital, for the college, and at this time I'd ask for a moment of silence for Marilyn Graber. Thank you. I will now go on to item 3, which is receipt of written communications and or petitions from the public. At this time, if there's anyone with any written communications or petitions, please come up here and give those to our lovely clerk, Clerk Spencer. Anybody else with any written communications and or petitions? Okay, seeing none, I will go on to our public forum. And Clerk Spencer, do we have anybody signed up for public forum today?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 4 people that signed in to speak. So we'll start with Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys. Okay,
Claude, and as everybody knows, we have a 3-minute rule to speak about any Elmhurst business, and welcome, Claude. Thanks for coming out tonight.
My name is Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys. I enjoyed the discussion about the sidewalks at the last meeting. Rather interesting. A debate for an hour that settled nothing. What I don't understand about this council and its approach to sidewalks is this. They want people to sign a petition when they have no concept of what something costs. If you were going to have an addition on your house, you would like to have some idea what it would cost. You may wish for the addition. You may want the addition. But when the contractor comes in and says this is what you're going to cost, you may have a change of heart. But this council wants to take a petition from somebody that has no concept of what a sidewalk will cost. The people that sign it have no concept. And why this council wants to fight it this way, I have no idea. Let one person come in and say they want a sidewalk on their block. Have a standard drawing of a house, a sidewalk, and 2 driveways located. You already know what a square of concrete costs. You already know what it costs to replace a curb. They can figure out what it's going to cost, and when they find out what this little gem is going to cost them, maybe they won't sign a petition. But you want to do it the reverse. I cannot comprehend this battle. In regards to another issue, this issue about this unit for having Elmhurst come under one electrical system. There were aldermen that vehemently argued we should have a referendum on this, that it was a necessary referendum, that what is going to really improve the life of the citizens of Elmhurst. And since they voted in the referendum, not one of them has brought forth any information on why it will benefit me. Not a number, not a meeting, and let alone, you're going to hire a consultant tonight on a referendum that hasn't even been voted on. You guys must have ESP. I don't know what you have. But why are you hiring somebody for something that may not be voted in? And on top of it, if you so adamantly argue that it had to be on the ballot, then go out to the citizens of this town and tell them exactly what they're going to save, and not just sit back and hope to God it will pass. Because if it's up to me, I'm not going to vote for something I have no idea of what benefit it is to me and why the city is even involved in it.
Thank you, Claude.
Next, Michael Conray, 570 West Crockett.
Good evening. The paperwork that I provided was my talking points and a letter that I submitted to the Public Works and Building Committee back in July 2010 regarding sidewalks. And just want to start off by saying the Public Works Committee has been very helpful in those discussions, and obviously we had a meeting 2 weeks ago regarding that. So let me just touch on a couple of main points that I had in that letter back in July of 2010. Request petition to start the process, the request for sidewalks. Request that the petition include all property owners on the block. All residents should be contacted, not just 1+ past the percentage limit. Also, request that the increase the percentage for approval to be 2/3, 66%. Now again, this is the petition process. Open house meeting notification by U.S. mail. Currently, the notification is hung on the fence, someplace on the house, and I'll get to that later. Define a street block to include both sides of the street. City survey to property owners, the actual vote on the sidewalks. Again, I recommend that that should be 66%, 2/3. The reason why, direct financial effect on the homeowners, obviously the SSA and their taxes. The other item that came up, although I don't have this in my letter from 2010, but that came up in the discussion 2 weeks ago, is that a no vote, a non-vote should be a no vote. My emphasis on that is especially if the policy is going to be that a street can be defined as one side, okay? So I'll just leave it at that. So let me give you a little history of what had transpired on Crockett. So June 2006, when the vote was both sides of the street, it was voted down. 59% of the returned responses were against the sidewalks. In 2009, after living in Elmhurst with a blacktop driveway for 10 years, which I never ever seal coated, my wife and I finally had the financial ability to put in a concrete driveway. But at that point, we did not know that there had been a petition to have a sidewalk on just the south side of Crockett. The south side is the side that I live on. January 2010, city sends out a letter, advises that the sidewalk construction is on hold due to budget constraints. In that letter, there's a reference to, and I'll just read it, quote, on September 22nd, 2009, the city distributed a notice informing the neighborhood that a public open house would be held this winter, meaning 2009. That notice was not seen by the residents of 570 West Crockett, myself and my wife, because it was hung on the fence.
Sir, if you could wrap it up, you're at your 3 minutes.
Okay? So, last 2 sentences. Meeting 2 weeks ago was the first time that I heard from my neighbors that communicated Crockett was on the sidewalk list. The merits of maintaining a petition that's 3 years old can be discussed at a later time, and I understand that the City Council cannot legislate that people be friendly and communicate to their neighbors. I respectfully ask that the majority proposal presented by the Public Works and Building Committee be given careful consideration by the entire Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz Widman, 908 Sailor.
Hi, Liz Widmeyer, 908 Sailor. Just wanted to ask for some clarification regarding DuPage County stormwater funding. There's been a lot of chatter from the mayor lately regarding he's going to the county to ask for funding for our flooding issues, specifically speaking about the December 5th council meeting, very extended meeting where Burke gave his report to our issues. The mayor that evening did say that he was going to go to the county the next day and advocate for us to make sure that Elmhurst was going to receive their fair share. It's my understanding that DuPage County only funds stormwater-related issues concerning the creek, overflowing its banks, creeks and streams, things like that. So if we could have some clarification as to what kind of funding we're to expect from the county, I would much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last we have Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street. Alderman Pezza and Alderman Bram, thank you very much for your referral last week with regards to the budget and looking at pervious services for parking repairs here in the city of Elmhurst. That shows great leadership in the area of stormwater, and we really appreciate it. Alderman Pezza and Alderman Gutenkopf, thank you very much for your referral that's on tonight's agenda with regards to keeping water out of the overtaxed city systems, with regards to the backyard drains and alternative management systems. Alderman York and Alderman Polomsky, thank you both very much for your referral on tonight's agenda regarding construction in the city of Elmhurst and whether or not drains but the backyard drains and the sump pumps should be tied into the overtaxed city sewer systems. As you know, the people of my neighborhood and some of the other neighbors in town are very much interested in you guys keeping in mind that every square inch counts. So we appreciate all of these efforts and we look forward to their successful conclusion.
Thank you.
That concludes the public forum as far as anyone who signed in for tonight to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. I will officially close public forum at this time, and we'll move on to announcements. I believe we have an announcement from our police department.
Yes.
Chief Panico?
This evening, I asked Chief Panico and Deputy Chief Kavitan to address the council with regard to some of the activity in the community lately, and I know there's big concern, certainly from our staff and the city council and all the residents, so I asked Dominic to give a brief presentation tonight regarding police activities and how we're working in the community. Chief?
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for this opportunity to address the recent daytime residential burglaries which have occurred in our community. I share the community's concern, and I assure you I take these incidents very seriously. I have given them a high priority. The police department has committed both technical and personal resources to the investigation of these crimes. We have implemented additional ongoing patrols. Officers have been reassigned from their regular shift duties and have been directed to patrol our residential areas. Both the community-oriented policing officers and our investigators have been focused on investigating the burglaries and also conducting directed patrols. Persons of interest have been identified, and we are actively pursuing leads, investigating them further. The police department's crime analysis has searched a number of resources and databases to develop information to identify investigative leads, crime patterns, information sharing, and identify possible suspects and vehicles. We have also collaborated with other surrounding police departments who have been experiencing similar crime patterns. And we've joined forces in sharing information and resources. As part of our investigative process, our evidence technicians have worked to gather physical evidence whenever possible and analyze it. We have also attempted to locate property which has been stolen and may lead to identifying a suspect. The police department has also implemented our Fleet Watch program, requesting our Public Works and Park District employees to be watchful of suspicious persons, vehicles, and report them immediately. Their additional eyes and ears in the community are a force multiplier for the police department. Each of our patrol officers is provided any possible suspect information and developments to be watchful of during the course of their routine duties. During our community engagement programs, we have provided citizens with helpful information that would reduce the likelihood of them becoming a victim. Also, we ask them to be vigilant and to report any suspicious persons, vehicles, or activity immediately. On the afternoon of February 14th, an alert citizen called 911 when he observed suspicious persons at a neighbor's home. Suspecting a burglary, he provided a vehicle description. As a result, our officers were able to quickly respond and subsequently observe the suspect vehicle on the eastbound I-290 leaving Elmhurst. They began to follow it. As the suspect vehicle exited onto a ramp, it lost control and crashed into a tree. An Elmhurst officer who was immediately on the scene of the crash pursued the 3 subjects on foot as they fled and was able to apprehend one of the fleeing suspects. We were able to recover stolen property, obtain further evidence from the vehicle, and we are currently working on identifying the remaining 2 subjects. In November of last year, the police department gave a press release of helpful crime prevention tips. I plan on providing a similar press release tonight. This will be posted on the city website, Twitter, Facebook, and the Elmhurst School District will also post the information on their website. Through this effort, we hope to increase public awareness and to encourage our citizens to report suspicious activity immediately. The Elmhurst Police Department has taken these recent crimes very seriously and has made them a priority. I assure you, the police department will continue to diligently work on investigating these crimes.
Thank you, Chief Panico. We appreciate the update, and I know for just about all of us, we've been getting emails on this subject matter, and we are naturally all very concerned about these issues. So we appreciate the update and knowing that you guys are all over this, and we definitely appreciate your leadership, tenacity, and you know, let's nail these guys. So because this can't happen. God forbid somebody's home when this happens, and we have a situation that would be tough. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to say thanks to Chief Panico and Deputy Chief Kavitin and City Manager Grabowski. I think we've probably all had various conversations with those individuals about it, so to bring it out publicly and to talk about what we're doing and more importantly what the community can do is very important, so thank you for that. I know I've had 2 friends directly impacted by what's happened recently. And it's interesting to me that one of the individuals, one of the homeowners, lives right off of 290 in St. Charles. The other friend lives right off of a bike path. With that in mind, Chief, are we seeing more of these types of crimes perpetrated in areas with easy access in or out of certain areas? Or are they kind of spread out all across the city? Are there some people that need to be a little more vigilant than others based on where they live within the town?
We're not seeing any distinct patterns, and we are seeing some clusters, but certainly in the past, we've seen where residences are near major roadways or bike paths. Those can be prime targets, and we've experienced that during this increase of these incidents.
Thank you.
And I know we've actually put on our website, and it's been up for a while, is keeping those doors locked. I mean, and we're probably all guilty of it, you know, taking the dogs out, whatever, you leave the back door open, but you can't take any chances these days. You know, you need to keep those doors locked, and if you have an alarm, make sure it's set. Some of us have alarms and forget to set them, so it's important. So City Manager Grabowski showed me some figures, you know, while, you know, and to me, 1 is too many, but you know, our actual burglaries, we average 70 to 80 a year, are actually down, but because of the fact that some of these folks are pretty brazen in how they have attempted to get in some homes, and with social media and email, I think we're very, very much on top of things and hear about it more than we've ever heard before. But again, one is too many, so we're going to full court press this and catch these guys, so, or whoever they might be. So we appreciate your help, your cooperation, and also the neighbors for speaking up. If you see somebody that doesn't look right in the neighborhood, pick up the phone and call 911. Don't even take a chance. It's not worth taking a chance with anything like that. So, anybody else? Questions? Thanks, Chief. Great job. All right.
Oh, no.
Oh, agenda. I'm sorry. Announcements. Clerk Spencer.
Thank you,
I should
Mr.
have known
Mayor.
better.
Elmhurst City Hall will once again host early voting for all registered voters in DuPage County. Early voting will take place February 27th through March 15th, Monday through Friday, between the hours of 9 and 4:30 p.m. And I also would like to give a little birthday shout out to Agnes Eldon Maxim. She's 100 years old today. So, happy birthday, Agnes. She watches.
Happy birthday, Agnes.
Alderman York, you had a hand up.
Yes. You all may recall back at the beginning of the year, we had a young man here in City Council chambers. We recognized Matt Gorelli. This past weekend, Matt Gorelli successfully defended his Class 2A state wrestling championship. He goes to Fenwick High School, for those of you who may recall, and wrestles at the 120-pound weight class. But Matt is now a two-time defending state champion at his weight class, and he's off to Stanford when he graduates this his senior year. So just wanted to bring everybody's attention to that.
Very nice, very nice. Well done, as usual. He's a tough kid, so we're proud to have him in our town. Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, just a follow-up announcement about the Hospital Guild's Chef Fest on Thursday, February 23rd, which is this Thursday at 5:30 at the Drury Lane. Tickets are still available, so anybody who's interested, please come and join us.
Great event, and hopefully we'll see everybody out there. Great foods, great restaurants. So, Alderman Gutenkopf.
Yes, following up on the public forum comment about electric aggregation, on Tuesday, March 6th at 7 p.m. at the Elmhurst Public Library, the Elmhurst League of Women Voters will present a program on energy aggregation. Hopefully they will answer everyone's questions.
Very good. Any other questions? Announcements, anybody? All right, move on to our consent agenda. At this time, I would ask if anyone has a question or might want to vote no on an item, please indicate that now. Alderman Levin?
Item M.
M as in Mary. Anyone else? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve the contents of the consent agenda, less item M. Alderman York with a motion, second by Alderman Healy. Clerk Spencer, if you will please call the roll.
York.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Wagner, absent. Mulliner.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Leader, absent. Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Polumsky.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. The consent agenda passes. Last item M, and at this time, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the recommendation on item M, please.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Affairs and Safety Committee that the city attorney be authorized to prepare the necessary ordinance to amend Article 23 entitled Pawn Shops and Pawn Brokers of Chapter 31 entitled Business Licensing, Regulation, and Registration to include Section 31.415 entitled Precious Metals Dealers to the Municipal Code. Respectfully submitted, Public Affairs and Safety Committee, signed by Patrick Wagner, Chairman, Paula Pezza, Vice Chairman, and Michael Bram.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this item on the floor, please. Vice Chairman Pezza with a motion, followed by second by Alderman Bram. In discussion, Vice Chairman Pezza.
I would refer to Alderman Levin.
Alderman Levin?
Thank you. I think I will be voting as an abstention tonight because I will withhold my position on the final ordinance. I'd like to talk to the city attorney and Chairman Wagner. I've talked to a couple of the other two members of the Public Safety Committee. The concern I have is that unlike pawn shop or pawnbrokers, they are regulated by state statute. If someone has goods they're trying to pawn, wherever you take it, the same statutory framework applies. You have to register the goods, you have to show identification, there's a certain time periods. The precious metal dealers is not regulated by the state. It's city by city. They have regulation in the city of Chicago. They don't have it in most of the suburbs. So if a person wants to take stolen goods to a precious metal dealer and they know that we regulate it, all it does is say go somewhere else where it's not regulated. It doesn't mean that I'm in favor of stolen goods being brought into our town, but there's a certain cost in terms of the regulatory framework that's set up by our police officers having to go out to inspect the logs and look at the property. And I just want to make sure that the cost is worth the benefit of it. And I bring it out only at this point so that it doesn't look, as it happens sometimes when someone votes in favor of a report and then later votes against an ordinance, and that's the concern that I'll raise with the city attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Point of order. Is that the correct rationale for an abstention at this point? I thought most of the time an abstention was from the standpoint of conflict of interest, and very rarely is there any other valid reason for abstaining.
I don't think it has to be, though, Alderman. I don't think that has to be the only reason for someone to.
I didn't say only, I said.
And I think what Alderman Levin is saying is until he can get further information, he doesn't want to take a position pro or con. And I think that's a legitimate reason to vote abstention.
Vice Chairman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to add that in light of the report of the burglaries, I believe former Police Chief Neubauer brought this matter to our attention first and foremost to be proactive. And though it is not regulated by the state, he felt it was best in the interest of Elmhurst to be proactive and to treat the potential of a precious metal dealer, which we're seeing more and more open, being treated as a pawn shop. I think if we can address it ahead of time and take these measures and hopefully prevent, as Alderman Levin said, someone from coming from another town, if they are stolen goods, and trading them in here in Elmhurst, why not prevent that from happening? So we all three signed this report because we supported Chief Neubauer's intent to be proactive and to prevent further trading in Elmhurst of potentially stolen goods.
Thank you, Alderman Pezza. Alderman Brown.
Thank you. Just a couple additional notes, as Alderman Pezza stated. Former Chief Neubauer did bring this to us. I think this enables another tool in the tool belt of the police department. It does not cost any additional time or labor. It is there for the police department to be able to reference any material that may be brought to the precious metal dealer. So this enables the police department, if there is some reported theft in the neighborhood, that they can go to them, and then they would be under our ordinance if it moves forward, to have the record so the police can actually follow through in any potential crime activity.
Thank you, Alderman. Anybody else? Okay, we can do this by voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The report passes. For the record, one abstention. Okay, very good. And we will move on to reports or recommendations of appointed elected officials. From me, we have tonight coming out our proposed budget here for, excuse me, before I go to the budget, I am actually going to go to our chair of DP&Z, Chairman Morley, who would like to update us on TIF.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Even though the meeting minutes of the last DP&Z committee meeting have been published, I thought I would take the opportunity to expound a little bit on the current status of TIFs as it relates to City Council and its responsibilities. As you'll recall, last year, at the end of September, the beginning of October, the City Council approved hiring Kane McKenna & Associates to perform a Phase 1 review of the 3 proposed TIF districts. And it was actually approved in a report and recommendation, and then subsequently passed and approved in a resolution. In effect, at that time, we were on hold waiting for those reports. Those reports were issued in early February to members of the City Council and the committee members of the DP&Z. We received those reports on the 9th. Subsequently, we had our committee meeting on the 13th to discuss those reports. There was 3 reports, one for each potential TIF area, the North York area, the Riverside Drive, and also the York and Villette area. We had many experts there at the committee meeting, as well as other elected officials. We spent approximately 2 hours going over the status of TIFs and made it through one of the three reports at that time. In addition, I'd like to add that throughout this process, Mr. Grabowski has been keeping all potentially affected taxing bodies informed as to the status of what we were doing. Certainly, we will continue to discuss this as we did not get through, since we only got through one of the three reports. We will continue to discuss this at our next committee meeting. In fact, I would anticipate at least 2 more meetings before the council can expect a recommendation coming out of committee. A couple other things. Certainly, I would encourage anybody who wants more information as it relates to this to go online. The reports are online on the city website. They are under departments, under community development, and furthermore, under economic development. There you'll see a listing for TIFs, and you will see not only TIF reports for the current TIFs in town, but also the reports from Kane McKenna regarding the 3 TIFs. In addition, if you have any questions, feel free to contact myself or city staff. I want to stress at this point that no decisions have been made, and the committee will continue to do its hard work and review the reports we have, and look forward to bringing it to council sometime in the next 2 months.
Thanks, Chairman Morley. Appreciate the update. Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to report on something that the Public Works Committee is currently reviewing. Myself and Alderman Pezza made the recommendation a little ways back, and that is the waste and recycling contract, a discussion on going out to see what our other opportunities are from the standpoint of recycling, from the standpoint of various receptacles, but also the other big piece of that recommendation or that referral was to make sure that we get the best deal from the best waste and recycling contractor, and that's by going out to bid and making sure that the residents get their best bang for their buck for waste and recycling, especially since it's a $2.5 million contract every year, and normally we sign a contract anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So I just want to update the residents who had concerns about that, and thanks the Public Works Committee for looking into that and looking forward to the report back.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other reports? Okay, very good. The biggest roadmap that we follow is in front of us, our new budget. City Manager Grabowski, I'll let you take it away, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I go any further, and normally we wait till the end for this, but before I go any further, I want to thank Marilyn Gaston and Tom Trezine, and certainly the whole finance department staff. This is really their document. I just have the good fortune of presenting it to the council. Also want to thank the department directors and all their staff for supporting me through this process. As I said a few months ago, this is really a good way for me to get into the departments and get to know the city better. So I'm happy that we're through the process. And I want to start by overviewing the mission statement, which I believe we do every year, but to review it and to acknowledge it because it's truly what we follow when we go through this process. And that's that the City of Elmhurst is committed to provide responsive and superior governmental services in an environment of respect in order to protect and enhance the quality of life for those who live, work, visit, and conduct business within our community. And again, significant to the process as it guides our service level provided to the residents and businesses each year. A little bit about the schedule. We are third from the bottom, the blue line right now, where we're delivering this to City Council. And again, all the other steps went through fairly routinely. This is where the real meat of the process happens. So following this, we will discuss it at a number of meetings here in council chambers. And I'll get into this a little bit later. The committees will dissect the operating budgets for their appropriate departments, and then we'll come back here and we anticipate April 2nd the consideration of the council. The format hasn't changed dramatically from years past. You know that I'm not sure how many consecutive years we've been distinguished budget award winners from GFOA, 5 years in a row. Thank you, Marilyn. So while there's always improvements that can be made, the format is tested and approved, so to speak. So in your books, you'll see the budget summary, followed by the proposed budget by fund, which is really the meat of the budget. Then following that are some budget and financial policies and procedures, and then supplemental information, including a new schedule for those who want to review it, and that's the allocation of the interdepartmental charges, and we'll get into that in a little bit, for equipment maintenance and information technology citywide. So with that, I'm pleased to submit to the City Council the fiscal year 2012-2013 budget. This is our operational plan for the year, and as you know, for Elmhurst, an outlook for 2 years. We've worked to deliver the document 2 weeks in advance of years past, and it's my hope that this will allow for additional constructive conversation regarding the budget. The total amounts of expenditures in this plan are $123,856,837. And due to numerous changes being undertaken, those expenditures are down from last year's budget by 11.7%. Additionally, proposed revenues are decreased from last year's estimates, and staff has continued to be cautiously optimistic in our forecast for revenues. Total estimated revenues for the next fiscal year are $101,730,390. Now, the difference between the revenues and expenditures will be funded by bond proceeds and fund balance within the capital project funds. In the general fund, which is the major operating fund of the city, the proposed budget expenditures are $51,123,578, which is 7.9% lower than last year's budget. Expected revenues to the general fund have also decreased 7.3% to $51,717,217. This leaves an expected difference of $593,639 to help build a fund balance for the future. Staff has been very diligent over the past few budgets to position the city for this balanced budget. Now, some of the highlights of this budget, I would say overall, I would consider it a status quo budget for the most part. But we have trimmed the expenditure categories as close to years past actual expenditures. So we went back the last 2 years and looked at actual expenditures, tried to trim the budgeted amount down to something closer to that, as we have some experience in what may or may not be spent. Now, the risk in this is the occasion where an unforeseen expense exceeds the budgeted line item for one reason or another. However, the city balances by fund, not by line item, so individual line items individual line item overages generally will balance out. Another change in this year's budget is the reallocation of interdepartmental technology costs and central grad services costs, as I spoke of earlier. So you'll see that as you go through the budget, you'll see a variance from fund to fund, department to department in that, and that's based on their use over the years and some other information that Tom Trezine provided in the schedule. The major changes in the general fund focus on personnel moves. Overall, we are decreasing the total number of budgeted employees to 265. At City Council direction, we've been reviewing all positions in an effort to reduce the future costs of pensions and health care, which are associated with full-time employees. Nevertheless, we need to carefully balance the service level provided to the community. So this budget includes adding the full-time position of Assistant City Manager, whose main duties will include coordination of economic development efforts. The Assistant Manager will also supervise the divisions of Information Technology, Human Resources, and Building and Planning. This position also has the flexibility to address special projects as they arise. The positions being eliminated from the budget
include an unfilled position of sergeant in the police department and an unfilled assistant planning and zoning administrator position. And we will continue to look for efficiencies in hiring as we review the city organization. And to that end, we will be undertaking a comprehensive salary and benefit study through the Human Resources Department, which is included in the budget. And within the building department, we'll be analyzing the 2013 ICC codes, which are our building codes, to make a recommendation to the City Council for adoption. Additional highlights include capital outlay, which are the street resurfacing program with the York Street project, intersection improvements in South Elmhurst, at the Addison Avenue parking deck, land acquisition within TIF 1 and TIF 3, streetscape project on York where we received an $840,000 grant, and then storm station, force main, and lift station improvements. I just want to talk about fund balance a little bit. As you see from this slide, it's anticipated in the current year, if things continue to track the way they are, that we could add 1.4, almost $1.5 million to fund balance due to decreased expenditures and perhaps revenues that were a little higher than we'd anticipated. And then with the proposed 2012-13 budget, we hope to add almost another $600,000 to that. So we are coming closer to the fund balance, which is the policy for the city. Not quite there yet, but we're coming closer. And I know you've seen this slide before. We update it each year. The thick blue line is the fund balance range goal. And then if you look at the last number, no, the second to last number 5 on each one, that would be the 2012-2013 coming year. So it is ticking up towards the fund range goal. It's projected to dip down in 2013-14, but I'm not putting too much stock into that because last year's budget predicted that this year's budget would also draw down from fund balance. So with the second year out budget, I'm not, I wouldn't go that far yet. But nonetheless, we need to show that. So additional considerations taken into account here with the budget, the fiscal condition of the region and the state. While we're not back to the times that we've been in 5 years ago, things are ticking up a little bit for us, it seems. But there's other issues that are hanging out there, and that's regards to sales tax distributions and determining where they're charged, whether it's origin or destination, and then possibly a change, we always fear this, a change in state shared revenue percentage allocated to municipalities. So staff will be closely monitoring any legislation that comes out of Springfield or Washington in regards to effects on our revenue stream. We always have tighter budgeting issues. We have upcoming labor negotiations. A couple of items I want to make note of that are not in the budget yet. One of those is the comprehensive stormwater, sanitary sewer capital outlay. We do not have anything in the budget. I mentioned this when we were talking about the capital expenditure budget. We are waiting for the recommendations from the committee to come to City Council and then make a determination of what those expenditures are going to be and what the revenue stream would be. And then as Alderman Morley had pointed out, there are 3 study areas under consideration right now for TIF districts. We've not included any expenditures for those at this point. And then lastly, we are looking at changing the fiscal year for the 2013-14 fiscal year, and that would go to January. So the next budget that you see would be an 8-month budget. But I want to make note that for comparable purposes in this budget, we estimated a 12-month budget. So we did not compare this budget to an 8-month budget next year. Just so everybody's clear on that. So what's next? We will post the draft budget on the website and get a hard copy to the library for reference. Certainly we'll have one here if anybody would like to come in and review that, and I would extend that invitation to any of the council members. If you'd like to come in and sit down and run through the budget, I'm happy to do that, and we'll bring in somebody from the finance department as well. The committee, as I said earlier, excuse me, the committee review of appropriate city department budgets will start, and the finance committee review of revenues. We did schedule a public hearing for March 19th. And then from now until then, the City Council will review the proposed budget beginning on February 27th with the Public Works budget. And we will get a schedule out to you shortly of how we anticipate that to go, which departments on which nights. Obviously, there's some flexibility in that as to how far we get in any given night. And then finally, City Council approval of the new budget. So in summary, I'd like to say that we're pleased to present a balanced budget which also looks to the future in rebuilding the general fund balance. This budget continues our current service levels and bolsters direct staff support for economic development efforts. The next fiscal year should be a busy and fruitful one if we continue to work together on the projects which are underway. We'll continue to review operations and staff levels while balancing services provided to the residents and businesses. And over the past 5 years or so, staff and the City Council have worked diligently to succeed through some very trying times. And while difficult, this effort has kept Elmhurst in an enviable position compared to other municipalities. And to continue these efforts, I present for your consideration and use the 2012-13 proposed budget.
Very good. Well done, sir. Well done, staff, Marilyn, Tom Trezine, department heads that all participated in this. I know a lot of work went into this, so, and it's one hell of a document. It puts money in the bank. We're spending within our means. We're spending below what we're taking in, which is important. We changed the circle, the direction of where our fund balances were. You can see that arrow going up, and that, thank God, is a good thing, because when they were a little under $5 million, as a new mayor, I came in, you know, saying to myself, this is not a good situation. So I'm proud of the council for stepping up and making some tough decisions. Took leadership to do that, and that's what we're here to do. So provide services, do the best we can with what we have, and we got a great city manager here driving the bus, and we look forward to working with this document. Again, this is a map. It's not written in stone, but it is a map, a guideline, and we know sometimes things change. We get hit with storms. 2010, we got hit with one of the worst FEMA events ever in the region's history, and we had to make some changes to move money around and whatnot, so that things like that do happen. But it is a goal, a map, and unfortunately, we've been very prudent in how we spend money, and it, I think just a couple of the graphs there are indicative of that. So we will be going through this over the next couple of months. People have questions, feel free to talk to staff. It's an open and transparent process. You know, citizens of this town have this access to it online just like we do. So, any questions? Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I know for anyone that's watching the papers, paying attention to this budget overview, thank you so much. I look forward to going through my third budget process. And I just want to be clear. I know it's something that I've received many emails, stopped in the grocery store about, phone calls, and it was mentioned that the full-time assistant city manager position is included in this budget. And I just want everyone to understand that it is my understanding that nothing regarding that is written in stone, that it is something that we will be discussing openly here on the dais to engage the residents in that discussion before any decision is made. And I know I've had many inquiries about it. It has not really been discussed on the dais as of yet, but I do look forward to that discussion being a part of our budget discussion. So just so everybody knows that has been paying attention to that, that would be the answer to your question thus far regarding that position.
Good. Anybody else? Okay. We're not expecting to approve this tonight, so everybody take this home and digest it, and there'll be a lot more rounds at the Apple on this. I will move on in our agenda here to other business. Anybody with other business at this time? Alderman York.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. We heard from an individual tonight regarding the aggregation, the electric aggregation. There was a very poignant article in Cranes this week regarding ComEd's attempt to raise rates for electricity supply. There are currently going to be 200 communities with a referendum on the ballot in the upcoming general election in northern Illinois, that is. So Elmhurst certainly isn't, again, leading here, but we're making a good decision to get this question on the ballot, and we'll let the voters decide what they want to do. I think the things that need to be reviewed are ComEd anticipates rates going up for the consumers who are still buying their electricity through ComEd because of costs that they've incurred to secure an adequate supply of electricity. And then they've seen their actual demand diminish because there are other options out there for consumers to use, other people that will sell you electricity. So currently, their consumption is down about 13%, and should electric aggregation be accepted in a majority of the communities, they see that electricity demand may fall by up to 30%. And they've got a certain amount of fixed costs that they're now going to be spreading over a thinner buying base, if you will. So that's going to be what's going to happen to the people who stay with ComEd. I think the last line in the article clearly states that cities are buying power supply at a more advantageous rate than other consolidators. So the League of Women Voters event that Alderman Gutenkopf mentioned, there is a great thing to plan to attend and get some answers. There was a presentation a week or so ago at Elmhurst College as part of their presentation with the Senate race and the county board race. It really behooves everybody to get out and get the information, and this is why one of the reasons that we hired the consultant was to get the information out there so people can make a decision. It really shouldn't be that tough to make a decision to save yourself a lot of money. So anyway, do your homework, attend the events, and read articles in the papers.
Thanks, Alderman York. City Manager Grabowski had something to add as well.
Yes, thank you. Both Alderman Palumsky and Alderman Bram asked me to forward that article to the council, which I will do. I apologize it wasn't at your places this evening.
Good. Anybody else? Alderman Bram?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to add to Alderman York's statements, and the article was an interesting one. Every resident for themselves who's interested, go ahead and read it and make your own judgments. I'm not saying that article is what's written in stone or is forecasting what ComEd may or may not do depending on how many customers stay with them or leave them. The one thing I did find interesting tonight before I actually came to City Hall was that I did have a solicitor come to my door in regards to another party, albeit not ComEd, and going to them instead of ComEd. So you might be receiving some solicitation from various companies in regards to being your electrical provider. And just keep this all in mind, not only what they would offer you as a resident, but potentially on what the electrical aggregation as a community would offer you, and weigh that against what ComEd is currently providing to you. I know that there's a lot of decision-making upcoming for all of us. There is a lot of information out there, and we as a city are trying to do our best to feed you some of that information, but please make the effort because there's a lot of decisions coming down the line. I don't want any one resident to jump forward on a different provider when electric aggregation is around the corner, so just keep that in mind as well.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every resident should have received a blue flyer in their water bill this month. And the blue flyer was two-sided. There was information on senior services on one side and electric aggregation on the other. So if you did not receive a water bill, you did not receive the blue flyer, please contact City Hall and we can provide that information to you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Morley with a motion, Alderman York second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.